Oh, the quality of the knockoff is becoming crazy. They've been replicating the cards, even the cards, the paperwork for the watches. They've been doing it. It's like it's scary.
Rolex mostly?
Rolex, Richard Mille, like anything, just name it. You'll see it.
The unthinkable has happened. Rolex, the king of luxury watches, is hit hard by a massive Chinese knockoff scandal. Fake watches flooded the market, shaking loyal fans. Now, the CEO finally admits the truth and announces a surprising price cut. Why would the world's top watchmaker lower its prices? Join us as we unveil the knockoff scandal that shocked fans. The secret world behind your luxury watch. Welcome to Shenzhen, China, a lively city famous for its tall buildings, advanced technology, and busy markets. Shenzhen is a major center for the watch industry worldwide. Over 95% of watches globally are produced in China, with many coming from this city. It's not about fake copies, but rather top-notch craftsmanship that can compete with, and sometimes exceed, the quality of watches from traditional manufacturing countries. As you stroll through the industrial areas of Shenzhen, you will come across huge factories buzzing with work. Employees are carefully making a wide range of products, such as polished dials, intricate bracelets, tough sapphire glass, and sleek ceramic bezels. The amount of items being made here is incredibly impressive. Shenzhen's production volume surpasses even Switzerland, a well-known country for watchmaking. Now, here is where things start to get interesting. There are rumors that certain factories in Shenzhen are producing parts for high-end watch brands like Omega, Tag Heuer, Tissot, and possibly Rolex. These are not the fake watches you see at a flea market or sketchy market. These are genuine watch components. Some of them may even be made in the same factories that create parts for the authentic watches sold in upscale stores. The main distinction lies in the branding and certification that are added later. Many Shenzhen factories are now being more transparent about their work. They are openly promoting their ability to create high-quality products and are even accepting custom orders. You have the option to buy a luxury watch directly from one of these factories instead of going to a luxury store. The product you receive from these factories is almost identical to what you would find in upscale stores, but without the high price and prestigious logo. Many watch enthusiasts have wondered why watches made mostly in China still have Swiss made on them. This is because the label Swiss made holds a lot of prestige and reputation in the fashion and luxury industry. It symbolizes tradition, precision, and luxury, giving the impression that the watch was entirely made in Switzerland by highly skilled artisans with centuries of expertise. However, that is not the complete truth. In Switzerland, a watch can be labeled as Swiss-made as long as 60% of its value is from Switzerland. This does not mean 60% of the parts or physical labor, but rather 60% of its overall value. Factors that contribute to value include marketing, research, design, branding, and final assembly. Even just inserting the watch movement into the case in Switzerland can satisfy this requirement. Picture this. A factory in Shenzhen makes the watch parts and puts the watch together. The watch is sent to Switzerland, where a technician adds the movement, polishes the case, and inspects the watch. After that, it can be labeled as Swiss-made. So, a watch made mainly in China is now being marketed as a high-end Swiss watch. And we're not talking about cheap watches here. These timepieces can be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. However, a large portion of the manufacturing takes place in Shenzhen, far from Switzerland's luxury image. The luxury industry has been engaging in this practice for a while, but only now are more people becoming aware of it. It all began in niche online groups on sites like Reddit, where watch lovers discussed and exchanged information. The discussion then moved to TikTok, where creators started revealing surprising facts to millions of followers. Former employees from the watch industry are now coming forward to expose secrets that could be straight out of a crime show. A previous worker at a popular Swiss watch company was fired for questioning the origins of the watch parts. These stories come from employees who saw what was happening. They talk about how the company hides the truth by blurring the boundaries between craftsmanship, production, and advertising. Swiss watch brands still make high-quality watches, even though the process is more complicated than people think. The watches you see in stores are well-crafted and beautiful. The finishing, assembly, and quality control in Switzerland add value to the final product. But the story of how these watches are made is not as simple as it may seem. Shenzhen is a major player in the watch industry worldwide, not just for making parts, but for excelling in advanced manufacturing. The factories in Shenzhen use top-of-the-line machinery and skilled workers to create intricate watch parts with exact precision, design strong bracelets that are smooth to the touch, and produce scratch-resistant sapphire glass. These components are not low-quality imitations. They meet the strictest quality standards. Sometimes factories help drive innovation. Shenzhen is now a leader in both quantity and quality due to the large scale and fast production in factories. Many small Swiss brands can't afford to make all their products in-house, so they depend on Shenzhen factories for important parts. Some brands even purchase fully assembled watches from Shenzhen and just put their names on them. Luxury brands use this system to maintain high prices and manage expenses. Marketing is essential in this process. The reputation of a Swiss watch made by hand is influential, so brands spend a lot to uphold it. Fancy ads, celebrities supporting the brand, and upscale stores all contribute to justifying the high prices, even if parts of the watch are made in China. Many consumers rely on the Swiss-made label because it symbolizes tradition and history. Not many people investigate further into the origin of parts or how the watch is put together. Watch companies are content with consumers being satisfied with just the label. The high-end watch industry relies on a well-crafted story to attract customers. However, as more details are revealed and insiders start talking, the reality of these exquisite watches becomes more difficult to conceal. Let's examine the origins of Rolex and the founders of the brand. Dream to a timeless legend. Rolex's story began with two men who had a shared dream. In 1905, Alfred Davis and his brother-in-law Hans Wilsdorf joined forces to establish a company called Wilsdorf and Davis. This small company, based in London, initially focused on importing watch movements from a Swiss company called Hermann Egler and fitting them into watch cases made by companies like Denison. Once the watches were assembled, they were sold to numerous jewelry stores, which would then put their brand names on the watch faces. The watch cases often had the initials W and D engraved inside, representing Wilsdorf and Davis. Hans Wilsdorf aimed for a brand that would be memorable. He officially named it Rolex in 1988, choosing a short, easy-to-pronounce and universal name that could easily be displayed on a watch face. Some believe he enjoyed the similarity to the winding sound of a watch. This marked the start of a new era for the brand. Shortly afterward, Wilsdorf established an office in La Chaux-de-Fonds, Switzerland, a town known for its skilled watchmakers. Meanwhile, Europe was experiencing significant changes as World War I created various obstacles. To adapt to the evolving circumstances, in 1915, the company was renamed Rolex Watch Company. Limited following the war, England introduced hefty taxes on luxury items such as watches, along with high duties on precious metals like silver and gold used for making watch cases. As a result, Wilsdorf relocated the company to Geneva, Switzerland in 1919. Geneva, renowned for luxury watchmaking, became the ideal headquarters for the brand. In the same year, the company was rebranded as Montres Rolex SA and officially became Rolex SA a year later. Wilsdorf wasn't just focused on taxes and offices, he was always trying to improve watches. A major issue back then was that dust and moisture could enter watches, causing damage to the small parts that allowed them to function. Wilsdorf was determined to find a solution to this problem. In 1926, a third-party maker of watch cases collaborated to design a case that was resistant to water and dust. Rolex named this innovative case the Oyster. To achieve this, Rolex purchased a unique patent from Paul Perregaux and Georges Perret. This patent enabled the watch's crown, which is used to set the time, to remain sealed and protected even when it was adjusted. As a result, the watch was able to stay safe from water and dust. Wilsdorf had full confidence in his new Oyster watch, so he found a smart way to display it. He showcased oysters in aquariums at Rolex stores' windows for people to see the watches ticking underwater. However, he had a larger plan to demonstrate the oyster's strength. In 1927, a British swimmer named Mercedes Gleitze tried to swim across the English Channel. She had a Rolex oyster on her necklace while she swam for over 10 hours in the cold water. Despite the tough conditions, the watch continued to function perfectly. In response to this impressive feat, Rolex ran full-page advertisements on the front page of the Daily Mail every day for an entire month. This attention helped the world become aware of Rolex and its amazing Oyster watch. Wilsdorf did not end his innovations with the Oyster case. In 1931, Rolex made another significant advancement by introducing the perpetual rotor, a new mechanism for automatic winding of the watch. The perpetual rotor was a half-circle plate inside the watch that moved along with the wearer's wrist movements, keeping the watch wound without manual winding. This invention revolutionized automatic watches and led to the Oyster being called the Oyster Perpetual. As the watches continued to improve in technology, Wilsdorf was also focused on the future of the company. Unfortunately, in 1944, his wife died. After her passing, Wilsdorf wanted to do something impactful. He set up the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, a trust where he put all his Rolex shares. He hoped that some of the company's profits would be used for charitable causes long after he was gone. Wilsdorf passed away in 1960, and since then, the foundation has been the owner and overseer of Rolex. Over time, Rolex continued to expand and grow. The company became famous for its attractive designs and durable watches. A big factor in Rolex's success was the high-quality materials they used. Instead of the usual 316L stainless steel, Rolex opted for the superior 904L stainless steel starting in 1985. This special steel was more resistant to rust and corrosion, making it ideal for luxury watches. When polished, the 904L steel gave Rolex timepieces a stunning glossy finish. However, this steel was a bit softer, so it was prone to scratching if not handled carefully. Despite this, Rolex believed that the beautiful shine and superior durability made it worth using. In 2005, Rolex made a significant advancement by introducing a new type of bezel material called Cerachrome. The GMT Master 2nd was the first watch to have this innovative bezel. Following that, Rolex started incorporating ceramic bezels in various professional sports models like the Submariner, Sea Dweller, Deep Sea, and Daytona. Cerachrome was unique because it did not fade like the traditional aluminum bezels due to sun exposure and use. Additionally, it was highly resistant to scratches, making these watches more durable and enduring. Throughout its history, Rolex has always prioritized accuracy, durability, and aesthetics. With each new innovation and enhancement, their watches have become more trusted and adored worldwide. Starting with founders Alfred Davis and Hans Wilsdorf, then moving on to the development of the oyster case and perpetual rotor, and finally incorporating materials like 904L steel and Cerachrome bezels. Every decision has been made with meticulous attention to detail. Now let's examine the evidence of something surprising and a proof to support the claims. Truth behind luxury watches. He was being very cautious while disassembling old watches from the 1970s. When he looked closely at the small parts, he noticed something unexpected. Instead of being made in Switzerland or Europe, many of the components were from Asia. He wasn't just guessing, as he had evidence to support his findings. He had photos of watch parts, like bracelets, hands, and dials that were made in China. He also had receipts to prove it all. When it came to the inner workings of the watch, known as the movement, things became more intriguing. Occasionally, the watches included high-quality Swiss movements. However, in other cases, an inexpensive quartz movement worth only $5 was hastily added. This revelation indicated that the problem was more complex than initially believed. The apparent luxury of the watches didn't always reflect their true quality on the inside. Have you ever wondered why you haven't heard about this before? The reason is that the media hasn't shared this information. This is because the luxury watch industry is very profitable. Major magazines earn millions of dollars from advertisements from top brands like Rolex, Omega, and Cartier. These brands are important clients, and the magazines don't want to lose their business. If they were to reveal these secrets, they would risk losing valuable advertising revenue. Not only magazines, but also watch bloggers who write about luxury timepieces choose to remain quiet. They often receive special treatment from the brands they cover, including being flown out to high-profile events like Basel World, receiving complimentary watches, dining at fancy restaurants, and being paid well to maintain a positive image. They lead a privileged lifestyle and are hesitant to speak out for fear of losing their special treatment. They are not willing to give up their perks, such as a free Rolex, in order to reveal the truth. As a result of the lack of information, smaller voices like independent YouTubers, TikTok creators, and anonymous factory workers have taken on the task of exposing the truth about what is happening in the luxury watch industry. These individuals are gradually revealing the hidden realities of how things work behind the scenes in this industry. After having expensive and exclusive products for years, Rolex surprised people by quietly lowering their prices. This change wasn't widely advertised and didn't apply to all models, but it definitely caught people's attention. Reports started circulating on watch forums and among luxury dealers. Some Rolex models were experiencing price reductions of around 20% in specific markets. The affected models were usually ones that had become highly sought after in the replica market, like the Submariner, GMT Master 2nd, and certain Oyster Perpetuals. Rolex carefully managed the reduction in prices by not making big announcements. Instead, they quietly implemented the changes through authorized dealers in specific locations. Those closely watching the market quickly noticed the change. The timing of these price cuts caused speculation, as they came shortly after a viral expose in China revealed bulk shipments of Rolex-style cases and bezels from Hong Kong. Luxury brands such as Rolex typically do not lower their prices without a specific reason. They operate by making their products appear rare and exclusive. When they unexpectedly decrease prices, especially after their supply chain was exposed to the public, it indicates that significant changes are occurring within the company. The luxury watch industry banks on creating an air of secrecy and exclusivity. Consumers desire things that seem scarce and unattainable. However, this secrecy is starting to crumble as a growing number of individuals are discovering ways to purchase directly from manufacturers. Private groups on messaging apps such as Telegram, WeChat, and WhatsApp are currently flooded with sellers who are selling custom luxury watches at much lower prices than the official retail price. What is even more surprising is that many of these sellers are no longer referring to their products as replicas. Instead, they are using terms like factory, B-grade image, same line release, parallel build, and unbranded OEM, which stands for original equipment manufacturer. manufacturer. In a nutshell, the factories are essentially admitting we produced the components, but we cannot claim they were made for Rolex. This situation is comparable to websites like DHgate, where products are sold straight from the manufacturing plants. Some informants have disclosed that some Chinese suppliers receive surplus materials from authorized production runs. Rather than disposing of these extra parts, they assemble the watches themselves and sell them discreetly. These watches are not counterfeit or inferior copies. They are crafted using many of the identical components but lack the official Rolex stamp of approval. Now, let's discuss the profitability of the luxury watch industry. Major companies like Swatch Group, Richemont, and LVMH typically make profits between 10% and 20%. While this is not small, it is also not exceptionally high compared to large corporations in other sectors. Tech companies and pharmaceutical companies have a noticeable difference in their profit margins. Apple has a 30% profit margin, Microsoft has a 38% profit margin, and Novo Nordisk, a pharmaceutical company, has a 39% profit margin. When you think about these numbers, spending $15,000 on a Rolex doesn't seem as extravagant. But don't feel sorry for Rolex just yet, because they are thriving. They are a private company and do not have to reveal their financial information to the public. This is because Rolex functions as a non-profit organization. Despite not making as much money as technology companies, they are not facing financial difficulties. The main distinction is that tech companies make massive profits daily, whereas luxury watchmakers are only rich. They are not hiding in obscure places or scheming like villains in cartoons. They are simply operating a business that excels in creating desire, exclusivity, and intrigue. Nowadays, as more and more people are learning about the true workings of the industry, the carefully constructed image is beginning to fall apart. Its greatest innovation. Rolex is famous globally for creating high-quality watches. Many people associate Rolex with mechanical watches, but only a few are aware of its involvement in the beginnings of quartz watches. Even though Rolex didn't make many quartz models, it played a significant part in pioneering quartz movements. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, Rolex teamed up with 16 other Swiss watchmakers to develop the Beta 21 quartz movement. This collaboration led to the release of the Rolex Quartz Date 5100, which was powered by the Beta 21 movement. Omega also used this movement in its electro quartz models. After 5 years of research and development, Rolex introduced its quartz movements, the 5035 and 5055. These movements were used in the Rolex Oyster Quartz watches, showcasing Rolex's unique approach to quartz technology. Even though Rolex explored quartz technology, its main expertise remained in making mechanical watches. One of its important achievements was creating the Oyster case in 1926. Rolex claimed that the Oyster case was the first truly waterproof wristwatch case because of its screw-down crown design. However, there was already a waterproof case patented by a company named Depollier 8 years prior. Rolex did make improvements to the idea by acquiring the Perregaux-Perret screw-down patent and adding a clutch system. This allowed them to combine the screw-down crown with a threaded case back and bezel, making the watch more secure and reliable underwater. To demonstrate the durability of the Oyster case, Rolex conducted a risky test. They fastened a special Rolex watch known as the Deep Sea to the deep diving vessel called the Trieste. The vessel descended to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. Despite the intense pressure, the watch emerged unscathed and continued to function perfectly. The following day, Rolex received a message from Jacques Picard, a member of the Trieste crew, confirming that the watch remained accurate even at a depth of 11,000 meters. Water-resistant watches were already available before the introduction of waterproof watches. Previous models, such as the submarine watch by Tavan, employed various techniques to prevent water from entering. However, Rolex distinguished itself by combining multiple technologies, resulting in watches that were both resilient and aesthetically pleasing. Rolex was a leader in creating accurate watches. In 1910, Rolex was the first watch manufacturer to receive a chronometer certification for a small lady's wristwatch. This certification demonstrated that the watch met extremely precise accuracy accuracy requirements, indicating Rolex's commitment to accuracy from the beginning. In 1931, Rolex came out with a new innovation, a self-winding mechanism with a rotor. This rotor could spin all the way around, using the motion of the wearer's wrist to wind the watch. As a result, manual winding was no longer necessary. Additionally, the rotor kept the tension on the mainspring more consistent, which improved the accuracy of timekeeping. Before this, there were self-winding watches like Harwood's, but they used a weight that only moved 270 degrees and hit buffer springs. Rolex's full rotation system was a big upgrade that eventually became the norm in automatic watches. Rolex kept achieving new milestones. In 1945, they introduced the Datejust watch, the first of its kind with a self-changing date feature. This was a significant advancement, as previous watches with date functions were not certified as accurate timepieces like chronometers. The 1950s saw more new developments in watch technology. In 1953, Rolex introduced the Oyster Perpetual Submariner reference 6204, which had a case that could withstand water up to 100 meters, 330 feet. Although the Submariner became a popular choice for divers, it was not the first of its kind. Omega had already introduced the Marine in 1932, which could go even deeper to depths of 135 meters, surpassing the Submariner. In addition, Blancpain debuted the 50 Fathoms in 1953, almost a year before the Submariner, with impressive waterproof capabilities designed for professional divers. In 1954, Rolex released the GMT Master Ref 6562, which enabled people to keep track of 2 time zones simultaneously. This was beneficial for pilots and travelers. However, Rolex wasn't the first to offer this feature. Longines had already created the dual-time watch 25 years earlier, providing a similar ability to monitor different time zones. 2 years after that, in 1956, Rolex brought out the Day Date. This watch showed both the day and date on the face, changing them by itself. The Day Date became very popular and well-liked by Rolex, and was worn by many important people around the world. Rolex has constantly mixed tradition and innovation over the years. Even though they didn't always come up with new ideas first, they would improve on existing ones. By emphasizing durability, accuracy, and elegance, Rolex stood out from other brands and became known for luxury and precision. Nowadays, people value Rolex watches not only for their advanced technology, but also for the history behind each piece. Could there be more to these luxury watches brands? And what is it? Let's find out. What you are investing in. A wristwatch is a small object that tells time, but some can be quite expensive. For instance, a watch costing $6,000 may only cost $1,200 to $1,500 to make. This means the price you see in stores is much higher than the production costs. So, where does all that extra money go? Well, there are a few reasons for it. Firstly, stores add their markup in order to make a profit. Additionally, there are costs such as the dealer's share, marketing, shipping, packaging, and other business expenses. It's also worth noting that some brands increase their prices to maintain an exclusive image. When something is priced higher, it often appears more desirable and prestigious. Not all brands operate in the same way when it comes to pricing. Some brands are upfront about their pricing strategy, disclosing the difference between the selling price and production cost. For instance, Christopher Ward, a British watch company, has stated that they only charge up to 3 times the production cost for their watches. On the other hand, Omega typically charges around 4 times the cost of production. And then there's Rolex, which experts estimate sells watches at approximately 5 times the cost of manufacturing. When you purchase a luxury watch, you are not only buying the watch itself, but also the entire package that comes with it. This includes the brand name, the rich history, and the experience of owning something prestigious. But here's where things get more intriguing. Just because something appears costly doesn't necessarily mean it is. For example, you may spot a flashy Rolex in an Instagram post, looking fabulous in the soft lighting. However, upon closer inspection, or holding it in your hand, the reality is revealed. A lot of these are imitations. While they may seem alike from far away, the distinctions become evident quite swiftly. Replicas are created to imitate the appearance of the original product without without matching its high quality. The internal components are typically produced by obscure manufacturers who prioritize cost-cutting measures. The mechanism inside, which is crucial for the functioning of the watch, often produces loud and inconsistent ticking sounds. This is a far cry from the seamless and gentle movement found in authentic luxury watches. Water resistance? Don't even think about it. A counterfeit Rolex could fog up just from the humidity in the air. The cheap metal used in these fake watches easily gets scratched. If you accidentally hit it against a table, you'll notice a mark right away. The glow-in-the-dark feature, usually helpful on real watches for telling time at night, hardly works on the knockoffs. The weight of a genuine luxury watch feels sturdy and well-balanced, while a fake one feels light and flimsy. These imitations lack the carefully hand-polished finishing touch, leaving rough edges and sloppy details instead. The main question on everyone's mind is whether luxury watches are truly worth the high price tags. The answer is not straightforward and can be a mix of both yes and no. If you are expecting top-notch craftsmanship, innovation in technology, and a rich history of watchmaking, you may be disappointed. Not all costly watches are masterpieces. Some companies purchase pre-made parts, assemble them, mark up the price, and sell them under their brand name. This is just a common practice in the industry. However, if you grasp the true value of what you are purchasing, it becomes clearer. You are not simply buying materials like metal, glass, and gears. Instead, you are investing in an experience. You are investing in the privilege of owning something that catches people's attention. It is about prestige. It is about entering a room, greeting someone, and being aware that they admire the shiny watch on your wrist. For many individuals, that sense of recognition is invaluable. Is the item too expensive? If you only consider the materials and how much it costs to make, then yes, it is expensive. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.